If you tied my hands behind my back and told me to bet on 3 underdogs at UFC 324, here's who I would bet on. First of all, let me just say that UFC 324 is probably going to be one of those cards where almost every favorite wins. That being said, there are still fighters that I think have very good value. First up, I got Denzel Freeman at plus 200. Freeman is facing the rising prospect and Colby Covington / Chael's son and clone, Josh Hokit. Freeman is 1-0 in the UFC, where he put on a rather low output performance against Marek Bujlio. He has a Greco-Roman wrestling background and actually has a nice submission win over fellow UFC heavyweight Steven Asplund in LFA. Hokit, on the other hand, is also 1-0 in the UFC, where he won by finish in under a minute against decorated grappler Max Jimenez. All of Hokit's wins are by finish, while Denzel has the same amount of wins with 2 decisions. Personally, I am picking the favorite Hokit here, but the reason I think the plus money on Freeman could be worth it is because both guys are in similar spots in their career, both 1-0 in UFC, and both have similar records. Hokit is 7-0 and Freeman is 7-1. Hokit is going to try to rush him and finish Freeman as fast as possible, but if Freeman survives that initial onslaught of attacks, I can see Hokit slowing down and Freeman taking over. Anything can happen in a heavyweight fight, and these two guys aren't far apart in skill, and they are in very similar spots in their career, which is why picking an underdog here isn't terrible. Next up, let's talk about an underdog I am actually picking, Arnold Allen. Allen is fighting a very dangerous Jean Silva, who's looking for a bounce back statement performance. But I can't pass up the fact that the guy with much more experience is plus 230. The past year or two of Allen's career have been plagued by injuries, so he hasn't been as active as Silva, but if he's going into this fight completely healthy and looking to get back into title contention, I think he has all the tools in his arsenal to beat Silva. He's been in the game much longer than Silva, only 2 years older, and he's been in the UFC since before Silva even went pro. 5 of his wins are over very solid names like Nick Lentz, Sodiq Yusuff, Dan Hooker, Calvin Kattar, and Giga Chikadze, and let's not forget he lost 2 very competitive fights over A-list names like Movsar Evloev and Max Holloway. He arguably got robbed against the undefeated Movsar Evloev in a 3-rounder, and he went 5 rounds with prime Max Holloway, in which one judge gave him 2 rounds. I'm sorry, but I just don't see someone who not too long ago endured and managed the pressure of the greatest pressure fighter in UFC history to not be able to handle Jean Silva's pressure. But let's talk about Jean Silva for a sec. Silva is 5-0 in the UFC with all finishes, which is very impressive. I just don't really think he's faced someone as good as Allen. His best win is Bryce Mitchell, which is a good win, but then right after that he got knocked out by Diego Lopez. Since he just got knocked out, Silva's looking to bounce back, so I do think he's very dangerous in this fight and should be a betting favorite. But Allen as an underdog is just too hard to pass up. Alright, now let's talk about the main event and the fact that Justin Gaethje is a plus 190 underdog against Paddy Pimblett. Now I am a Paddy believer, and I do think that Paddy will probably win this fight, but I'm not mad at you if you're picking Gaethje, because this fight could go either way, and Gaethje being an underdog is great value. Gaethje's best wins include Michael Johnson, Edson Barboza, Donald Cerrone, Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, Rafael Fiziev, and Dustin Poirier, whereas Paddy's best wins include just Michael Chandler and Tony Ferguson, both of which were past their prime when Paddy fought them. But that's just the thing. I think Gaethje is nearing the end of his career, whereas Paddy is just entering his prime. And a win like this would catapult Paddy into the next level of superstardom. Plot armor is a real thing, guys. I could just see Paddy winning this fight. I think it's going to be a war, and Gaethje has better striking and more power than Paddy, who only has a grappling advantage going into this fight. So yeah, plus 90 for Gaethje is kind of a steal, but I'm picking Paddy. But what do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments. See ya.